Test.
يلا بينا. ده؟ ماشي. محتاج ده؟
For the
حبايب احنا بقى.
Hello everyone, this is Nancy Seraphim,
This is Eric Kozman.
and we... Okay, that was just a test, you guys. Live? Hello everyone, this is Nancy Seraphim,
This is Eric Kozman.
and we are the hosts for today's event, You Are the Future.
7 years ago today, from Egypt, lost. I didn't know where to go. I'm gonna join school. I'm gonna find a job. Surrounded by unknown people, unfamiliar faces, different culture, different languages, and afraid. I was afraid from all the unknown.
Luckily, you don't have to go through this alone. We are here to help and support and guide you as you navigate through the phases of your life.
So yes, 7 years ago I was afraid, and today I stand here before you still afraid, and I'm sure you have your own fears too.
So yeah, we know you left your home, you've crossed the ocean, and you've learned new languages. You might not be in your final destination yet, but we know you are on your way. We know you're not done yet.
Today our goal is to meet you right where you are. If you're in high school, college, about to make a life-changing career, we're here for you. We have a great panel of guests and speakers who will guide you and will share from their wealth of knowledge.
Part of Grace's mission is to connect the community, to create the possibilities, and to make the transition smoother.
So I would like to take this chance to thank Engineer Reda Bishai, the man behind Grace, and this youth event.
You are the future.
You are the future. Thank you. Please welcome Anthony Bishai, medical student, who will discuss preparing your application for medical school.
Hi everyone. Like they said, my name is Anthony Bichet. I'm a third-year medical student at University of California, Irvine. And I'm going to talk a little bit about medical school today. So I'm going to be starting off with a joke that I feel like encapsulates a lot of our parents' mindset, okay? So the son goes to the dad and he says, I want to be an actor. And then the dad goes to the son, no habibi, it's pronounced doctor, right? So this, I feel like, is a lot of our parents, right? They have this weird thing with being a physician going to medical school. But a lot of times we don't even know what that entails. So this talk, I'm hoping to accomplish 3 things. We're going to go over what is medical school, is it right for me, and if so, what do I do next? Okay, so medical school in a nutshell. This is gonna be a very basic overview, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, so it's 4 years total, right? 2 years are preclinical years. Okay, after that you take your first certification exam called Step 1. Okay, Step 1 is gonna encompass a lot of subjects, too many subjects. I just finished it. It's not a fun exam, but It's going to cover pharmacology, pathology, microbiology, a lot of different subjects that are important for the basis of medicine. Okay? After that, you have 2 years of rotations. So what the rotations are is you go into the hospital, you work with different departments, you work with different types of doctors, and you figure out what you want to do for yourself, what you want to be. So right now, for example, I'm in my rotations, and I'm on my OB-GYN rotation. So I'm working right now with a lot of surgeons that remove cancers that are related to the gynecological cancers, okay? After that, you graduate with either your MD or your DO. Okay, so there's 2 different types of medical schools. You have your doctors of allopathic medicine and your doctors of osteopathic medicine. The degrees are pretty much the same. You can practice the same in the United States, and you can there's no separation in your certification, okay? But there's a little difference in details, and that's a whole other talk. If you guys have questions about that, you can come and talk to me after. After that, you still have to complete your residency. So, you did 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school. Now you're excited, I get to be a doctor. Nope. You have to do your residency still. You have to pick what exactly you want to do. So, residency can be from anywhere from 3 to 7 years. For example, the doctor that you usually go see, your family physician, that's a 3-year residency. God forbid that you need to go see a neurosurgeon, that's a 7-year residency. Okay, and there's different lengths of residencies all in between that. So, it's a long path. So, let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of going to medical school. Okay, so let's start with the pros. Let's be a little positive. Okay, so medicine is truly a ministry. It's an opportunity to serve. Your patients are going to trust you. Even right now, as a medical student, I don't know anything, trust me. The patients I talk to tell me everything, and they don't hold back, right? So it's just the nature of the job. People will trust you, and that's a responsibility that you have to take very seriously. It's a beautiful mix of science and humanity. So if you like science, but you still like talking to different types of people, it's a great profession for you. You get to connect and interact with people of all different walks of life. So a lot of times I think we get fixated in our little bubbles and we talk to the same types of people. But this is a great opportunity to talk to all different types of people, people of different careers, people of different ethnicities, cultures, and make a effort to get to know them. And then here's the more like logistical things. Job security. You're not going to have an issue finding a job. Good salary. So you're compensated for the time that you put into becoming a physician. Now, it would be unfair of me if I didn't talk about the cons, because there are a lot of cons, right? Number one, you're going to be studying a lot, right? So, the majority of your day, a lot of these days, will be studying. Does that mean you can't have a life outside of medical school? Of course not. You can time manage, but the majority of your time is going to be studying and in between the books. Again, point number 2, you won't have a lot of time. I still have time to talk to friends and hang out with friends and hang out with family and things like that, but do I have as much time as I want? No. I have to prioritize school sometimes. It's a long road, right? It's 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and then you still have to do residency. If you follow my path, by the time you're done, I'm gonna be in my early 30s. So this is a lifelong commitment. Even when you become a physician, you're still having to learn, right? You have to learn the new techniques. New things are changing constantly, and you don't want to be the physician that isn't caught up with the new techniques and the new treatments, because it's a disservice to your patients. Number 4, burnout. I don't know if some of you have heard, but in medicine, the burnout rates are sky high right now. The system isn't the best. A lot are required of their physicians, so people are burning out, and it's a taxing job. And then a very big one is the debt. So the average debt is about $200K once you're graduated with medical school. So does that mean that I shouldn't do it? No, but that's definitely something that you have to think about. Going into medical school is a big investment of not only your time, but your resources. Okay? So, but if you plan for, if you are smart in how you spend your money, if you're smart in how you take your loans out, if you're smart about different things like that, you can pay back that debt. It's just important that you're cognizant of it before you start. Number 7, it's not guaranteed to get into medical school. In undergrad, I heard a lot of talks, about medical school and different things like that. And a lot of times, they would tell me the average GPA and the average MCAT, and I would get sad because, I don't have the average GPA, I don't have the average MCAT. So, numbers aren't everything, but they are important, right? That's something you have to be aware of. The average MCAT to get in was a 512. So, that's 85th percentile, right? So, that means you are the top 15% of people that took the MCAT. That's just the average of getting in. The overall GPA average was a 3.7. So an A minus average is a 3.7. An A average is a 4.0. It was closer to an A minus average. Okay? I don't want these things to discourage you, right? Like, just because I got a B or I got 1C or something like that, that doesn't mean you can't go to medical school. I just, before you start, or if you're in the process, these are things you have to be aware of, right? You have to do your best to do your best, right? You have to invest time into your classes because it is competitive, right? But at the end of the day, it's truly a holistic process. I got to, see the admissions process a little bit. I get to interview people, and medical schools aren't lying. It is a holistic process. So if your numbers aren't the best, if your GPA isn't the best, if your MCAT isn't the best, you can make up through your extracurriculars, through your letters of recommendation, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So that's question number 1. That's what is medical school. Now, question number 2 we want to answer is medical school right for me? Or on the other side of that, is it wrong for me? So, if you're deciding to do this profession only for the money and job security, it might not be the best profession for you, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't factor those things in. Of course you should. Money and job security are very important things to factor in when you're picking a profession. But the years are so long, and the amount of resources that you have to invest into the profession are so long that there are different options out there where you don't have to invest those things. If you're unwilling to commit 8+ years without an income, and then studying for hours a day, that's another reason why it might not be the best choice for you. So you have to realize you're not going to be having an income for a long time. Okay, you're going to either be dependent on the government or or your parents or something like that, and that's just something you have to realize before going in. Okay, so how do I know the right reason? It's the right reason. So it's right for me if you guys listen to all of the cons that I pointed out, and I said more cons than I did pros, just so that I could be fair about the process, right? And you said, that doesn't matter, the pros are worth it. Okay, then it's for you, right? And it's worth it. And if you commit to it, you can definitely do it. A lot of people are saying, it's too hard. No, if you commit to it and you think about it and you talk to people and you read online and you look at different resources, you can do it. Okay? So, what are some bad reasons for deciding I do not want to go into medicine? Number 1, you think you're not smart enough. No, you are smart enough, okay? If you want to do it and you're daunted by the academic requirements, that's not a good reason, right? We just have to learn how to study. I had to learn how to study for myself early on, and I'm still learning today. And it's just important to learn how to try different things and how to change how you study. Don't be stubborn in the ways that you decided you wanted to study. talk to different people, look through YouTube videos, read online. Reddit is a great resource. See how different people are studying for different subjects and try different things. The way people are, there's no one right way of studying. Different things work for different people. Some people love flashcards, some people love highlighting the textbook. Try different things and see what works for you. So, say you've listened this far and you've decided that medicine is what I want to do, it's a career for me. So what do we do now? So I think a lot of people here are a little younger, so I'm gonna spare like the exact specifics, but we're gonna talk about 3 things broadly, okay? You should be looking at. Number 2 is the letters of rec, and number 3 is the MCAT, okay? So number 1 and number 2 can be applied to any health profession. So if you're thinking about going into become a physician assistant, if you're thinking about becoming a nurse or a nurse practitioner, if you're thinking about becoming a respiratory therapist, right? Number 1 and number 2 are applicable for you. So we're going to talk about the extracurriculars and letters of rec, and then we'll briefly talk about the MCAT, which is more specific for medicine. So extracurriculars, there's so many things that you can do in college. There's so many different organizations. There's so many things that you can commit your time to. How do I decide as an undergrad what I want to commit my time to? And I think we get lost sometimes, right? We look for what we think looks good. I think we should kind of change the way we think, right? And look for the things that we're passionate about, the things that really speak to us and are going to excite us to get out of bed and to work on those things. So for me, that was pre-hospital care. So I loved being an emergency medical technician. I loved working at different events as that, and that's what I really dedicated my time to, and I took my license as far as I could in undergrad. So you need to find what you're passionate about and dedicate your time into that. And if you do that, it really does come out when you're interviewing and when you're writing your application. So I get to interview a lot of different undergrads that are going into medical school, they're applying to UCI, right? And it's pretty easy for me to tell if someone is passionate about what they're talking about, right? Or if they just did it because maybe their friends did it or they thought it would look good. So number 1 is the number 1 most important thing is passion. But that being said, you still have to be cognizant of the different things that medical school or health professional schools are looking for. So the number 1 most important type of extracurricular that they look for is clinical experience, right? So how can I fulfill clinical experience? How can I get the clinical experience? For example, if you want to go into physician assistant school, right? Some schools require you to do 2,000 hours of clinical experience, right? Medical school doesn't have a requirement, right? But that's their number 1 extracurricular is clinical experience. So how can I do those things? Medical assistant, right? So when you go to the doctor's office, right, and there's someone that takes your vitals or maybe draws your blood or measures how tall you are, how much you weigh, right? That's a medical assistant. You could do that, right? And you get to talk to patients and you get to make a connection and you get good experiences, right? So that's something that you can pursue. Medical scribe. So hopefully you've never had to know what a medical scribe is because they're mostly work in the emergency department, but they're basically the people that do the charts for the physicians in the emergency department. So they follow around the physician and they write down what the physician says and they chart it down for them. So that's another opportunity for you to get some clinical experiences. You could do what I do, and I'm a little biased, right, because it was my favorite thing, but you can become an emergency medical technician, right? And those are the people that work in the ambulance or they work at events, right? So at concerts or at sporting events, there's people there that are medically trained to help people in case they get sick or they get hurt or anything. That's what I did. I went to concerts, I went to sporting events. I got to work with patients, I got to work with doctors. It was a really great experience. And if anyone's interested in that, just come talk to me after and I can help you get oriented in how to do that. Now, number 4, mission trips. medical mission trips specifically. Those are great experiences. Number 5 is clinical research. So there's different research opportunities in the hospital and in clinics. They're maybe researching a new drug, a new treatment. They have to write up a paper. So those are great because it counts for both research experience and clinical experience. So if you can find something like that, it's a great opportunity. And then I was talking to my brothers before when I was preparing for this, and they're like, what's your so this next thing I really don't like, but that's maybe just a personal thing, but it's hospital volunteering, right? It's the most accessible thing, the most thing out there, right? But the thing is, it's not very hands-on, and a lot of people do it and they think that's what the clinical experience is, right? So if that's what you're doing, that's okay. It doesn't hurt your application, it definitely doesn't, but there's other things you can be adding on top of it to make yourself a little more competitive and to make yourself enjoy it a little more too. I did hospital volunteering, and it wasn't my favorite thing. The next category of extracurriculars are non-clinical community service, right? So that's church, maybe, teaching Sunday school, working in the soup kitchen, the food pantry, feeding the homeless, anything like that. Next category is research. So we talked a little bit about clinical research. That counts as for this category. There's also bench research where you're actually in the lab. You have your white coat on. You're maybe pipetting. You're working with a PhD student and a PhD, and you have a question and you're trying to answer it. So that's another thing. And then number 4 is hobbies. You know, if you love playing soccer, play soccer. If you love playing basketball, play basketball. Anything is a hobby, right? And anything you can write about in your application, right? But the majority of your application shouldn't just be hobbies, but you should include some hobbies to show that you're a well-rounded person. Okay. Second thing I want to talk about is letters of rec. And this is important to a lot of different professions, just not medicine, right? A lot of times people, you know, they reach out to me. They're people I knew in undergrad. They said, oh, I'm going to apply to medical school, you know, or I'm going to apply to PA school, I'm going to apply to nursing school, but I don't have letters of rec and I'm about to graduate. I don't know what to do for these people because they can't go back and take a class, right? And they need letters of rec from their professors. So if you take anything from this talk and you're planning on going into college, is get to know your professors, right? Go to their office hours, ask questions, right? Really get to know them so that if you need a letter of rec, you can leave a positive impression on them, and you can ask for a letter of rec later on in the future. All right, not every letter of rec is the same. Some are better than others, right? And so the more you get to know the professor, the more you trust that professor, the better the letter of rec will be. Okay. Just because you're a first year doesn't mean you don't have to be thinking about letters of rec. Letters of rec are important from the very first day you're in college, right? And there's a website that I wish I knew about when I was a first year, but it allows you to store those letters of rec until you end up applying to whatever you want to apply to. So whatever your career path is, look up the letter of rec requirements and start thinking about that from early, and then you can store it on a website called Interfolio. So it's like portfolio but with inter in the beginning. So Interfolio. And if you want the spelling for that, just come to me after. Third thing, and I'll be brief about this because it's more specific to medicine, is the MCAT. So the MCAT is the standardized test. So everyone who took their SAT or ACT, I know it's not becoming SAT. I know you don't have to do it now, but has anyone taken it? SAT, ACT? Yeah, no, that's it. Oh yeah, SAT, ACT. Yeah, I took both of them. They both suck. And the MCAT sucks even more. It's a terrible test. I will just be honest, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. The more prepared for you are, the easier it will be for you. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it, give you some bullet points, some things to think about from early. Okay, so it's a passage-based test. So it's not concepts, right? It's not going to be like, okay, what's the powerhouse of the cell? What's the powerhouse of the cell? Anyone know? Yeah, mitochondria, right? It's not going to be like A, nucleus, B, ribosome, C, mitochondria. It's a whole passage from a research article, right? And you have to read the whole research article and interpret the research article and then combine what you know about the mitochondria and then answer the question. So that's how they make it hard. So there's 4 sections. The first is chemical and physical foundations of biological systems. If you ask me, I have no idea why that's on this test. I haven't used chemistry or physics, or if I do, it was very basic stuff, but it's on the test. So the classes you should take in undergrad to be prepared for that are general chemistry, organic chemistry, and physics, okay? If those 3 are your least favorite subjects, like they are for me, I'm sorry, but that's just how the test is, and it's important that we talk about it so that you guys start preparing for it mentally and academically. The next section is the cars section. That's what it's called. It's not about automobiles or motors, no. It stands for critical analysis and reasoning skills. So these test writers, what they do is they scour magazines and they scour different academic journals and they scour different things, and they take the passages that they think are the most confusing passages and then they make those into the test passages, right? So a lot of times you're going to read this passage and you're going to be like, what is this talking about? I literally have no idea. So it's just important to practice, right? And I have different resources that you can practice with. Different websites that worked for me. If this is applicable to you, please come talk to me after and I can help you with that. The next is the biology section. So this is straightforward. General biology, molecular biology, physiology, genetics, biochemistry. That's all incorporated. Last section is called psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior. So the classes you should take before are psychology and sociology. And it's a pretty straightforward section. It's an important section. A lot of it is research interpretation and just basic principles of psychology and sociology. So I'll just briefly go over how different people prep for the MCAT, right? A lot of people will self-study. And how they self-study is they will buy different books, either Kaplan, the companies are called Kaplan, Princeton, Exam Cracker. Those books, they'll buy them and then they'll review the content by themselves. And then another resource that is super good is called Khan Academy. Has anyone here used Khan Academy before? Yeah. They have an MCAT section. It's super helpful. And I ended up using that a lot. And then 3 other types of companies that have different courses are Kaplan, Princeton, and the Berkeley Review. They have online options and in-person options. They all have their pros and cons. If you're trying to choose between them, come talk to me and Nathan. Actually, after Nathan's my brother, he's taking his MCAT right now. We can kind of help you choose between those things. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I guess just to conclude, if you want to go into medical school or any health profession, don't let the long journey or the academic rigors deter you. It's something that you can do once you decide that you actually want to do it. But make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you're making an educated decision before you decide. And then once you decide, make sure you're going at it at 100%. Any questions? No? Okay. If you have questions, you can come talk to me after. And Nathan's also pre-med. He can answer them as well. But thank you for your time, and yeah.
Thank you. That was great. And now please welcome Miss Nancy Naguib from the Financial Aid Technician, Santa Ana College, who will discuss the challenges that young people face in entering university.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm so honored to be part of this great event by Grace. When they reached out to me, I said, well, it's maybe time for me to share my personal story. I'm not only here as a financial aid specialist, but I am part of the community. I came to the US when I was just 17. I barely finished high school in Egypt and I came here. I didn't attend any events like this. I wish I did. It would have saved me a lot of time. But I had to stumble and try to find my way and make mistakes and learn from it until I finished and I graduated from UCLA. And then I ended up working in the field of higher education. So I'm here as part of the community, as someone who was in your seats at one point in my life, and also as someone in higher education who's very passionate about college and help for students who need it and who are not sure how to get it. So I hope you benefit from my talk today. So immigrant students who come to the US, they face a lot of challenges. Some of the challenges are interrupted schooling, so leaving their homeland and leaving their school and their friends and coming here, language and cultural barriers, and minority religious beliefs that could be a little tricky coming to another country. Levels of native education, so whether you are in a private school back home and you had top-notch education, or maybe the school that you were at was not that great, or English being taught to you was not, that high of a level, so you come here and you have more struggles with the language. Socioeconomic resources back home, and when you come here you may not have access because you just don't know. And also, if you're able to be part of the community and not face rejection as an immigrant. And this could be different for different people. The more you try to interact, the more you try to volunteer, the more you try to get out of your shell and actually try to be part of this country, the faster you're gonna be able to do what you need to do, okay? Don't just stick to your small community, but rather, branch out, reach and volunteer and do things and talk to other people who are not just part of your community, okay? Why is education important for immigrants? Well, overall, they will have better health outcomes, so they can live a better life, have better health. They will be more civically engaged, so they will be able to know what their rights and their rights and their need to be part of this country, and learning about laws and all that. Accessing higher education enable immigrant students to achieve their dreams, and it becomes an economic and social mobility generator. So it benefits themselves, benefits their children, and later benefits the US, which is now our country. So the most important thing is you gotta have the desire, okay? You gotta want to improve the quality of your life. Not your parent for you, but you for yourself, okay? And what is quality of life? Quality of life entails financial stability, not living paycheck to paycheck, being able to plan for your retirement early, in your 20s. Why not start now? Why wait until you're in your 30s or maybe 50s when you decide, oh my gosh, I have nothing for my retirement? Being able to do leisure activities, travel, have a higher living standard. And mind you, all these, this is a sliding scale. So one living of standard for one person could be different from another. But you get to pick that when you go into higher education and improve yourself and get a better job with a better paying, career. So feeling empowered in your new country and taking control of your own life, making positive decisions based on knowledge, not just because someone told you to do that, claiming your rights and to know your civic responsibilities, and possibly maybe one day championing a change that would benefit your own community. How about that? So think of all that. It's not just because my parents are nagging me that I have to do this, but you can make a better tomorrow for yourself and for your children and for your small community that you belong to, okay? So with all that being said, and with me having such passion for higher education, I'm going to tell you some things that you need to look out for to get you into higher education, starting from high school. I'm not going to take you back to middle school, but let's talk about high school. So in high school, a lot of students may try to do AP courses, and that's great. It will save you time when you transfer, but think of this. If you do dual enrollment courses, which is while you're going to high school, you attend a community college and take a dual enrollment class over there, that class is a college level course. And what that does to you is that you're already done with that one subject and it's checked off your GED, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, AP courses are a pain. They are difficult. Sometimes the teacher teaching AP in the classroom at a high school may not be the best. They try, but it's hard, or there's so much that they try to cram in so little time. The test itself is very challenging, but when you take that same course in a community college, I can tell you it's much easier. You're going to be able to do well. You're going to be able to finish it in a semester long, okay, which is half your academic year when you're in high school. Okay, so think of it. Do one in one semester, another one in the second semester. You're done with 2 courses off your GEDs. Okay, so think of dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is free, so there's no reason not to be able to do it. Just reach out to your counselor at the high school and try to look into that. Higher education is for everyone. It's not only for certain people. It's not for people who have money. It's not people who have parents who finished college, but rather anyone can go to high school. Even the parents themselves can go to higher education, not high school. Even parents themselves can go to a university and finish their degree or do masters when they come here to the US. There is no reason for anyone to say, oh, I'm too old, I can't do this, or it's too hard, I can't do this. So regardless of your age, apply if that's what you want to do. Once you have established your residency, and that's mainly, I'm going to talk for California, but if anyone else listening to us via the live feed who is from another state, you may want to look into the residency requirements for your own state. But for the state of California, if you've been here for 1 year and a day, you're a California resident, and you can definitely apply, and you'll get much cheaper tuition. If you try to apply right as soon as you arrive here and you haven't established that residency yet, it's going to be quite expensive. So my advice to you, maybe that first year, try to work on getting your job, where you're going to be staying and all that taken care of as a parent. And as a kid, maybe try to look for any free classes that you can take through your community, or if you're in high school. But once you have established that residency, you can definitely apply for college, and it will be cheaper. Now, I'm going to tell you, once you are ready, you're a senior, and you're ready to pick the school, there are 3 different types of universities that are 4-year schools. There is the UC system in the state of California, obviously, and the Cal State system in the state of California, and then there's also the private schools. And those are all 4-year schools. And then there's the community colleges, which I'm here to represent one of them today, Santa Ana College. Santa Ana College, offers that flexibility, and mind you, all community colleges offer the same thing, but I'm a little biased. I love my school, so I'm going to talk about Santa Ana College. It offers the flexibility where if you don't want to be full-time, you want to go part-time, you can do that. It's much easier to get into it. Okay, you don't have to worry about deadlines for application. You can literally plan to register a few days before the beginning of the semester, and you're done. And once you're in, you are able to take all your general ed courses which is all schools, the first 2 years, all what you're taking are general ed courses. They're similar across the board. So why take a course in a private school or a UC and pay a whole bunch of money for it when you can take it at Santa Ana College or any community college and let it be free? You can do that for the first 2 years and it will be much cheaper and more financially sound for you. So the difference between applying for the universities versus the college, the UC system has its own application and the Cal State system has a separate application. You have to be aware that for every UC, it requires a fee. Okay, so it's anywhere between $75 to $70 per campus. So let's say you plan to apply for 4 UCs, that's 4 times 70 or 75. So you're gonna be putting that out of pocket right off the bat. If there is a school that you really don't think you're gonna go to, don't apply for it. It's a waste of money. Some students will do all the Cal States and all the UCs, and then when they get all the Cal States, they'll say, well, I don't want to go to a Cal State. Why am I applying? There's no point. Don't be worried that, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not going to get into any school, so let me just put in an application for a Cal State. There's really no point. If you don't plan to attend a Cal State, don't waste money on applying there, okay? Apply for the school that you think you want to go to. Really research and know what your major, where is popular, which school offers a good program for the specific major that you want, and plan ahead. And if it's a UC that you want, well, consider doing the 2-year at a community college and then 2-year transfer. You'll have a better chance versus being a freshman applying. There's a ton of freshmen competing with you. And it's almost like a lottery because you can have a really high GPA, you can be doing all the good things and checking off all the requirements, but you still don't get into it. So, don't be discouraged. There's always a plan B. If you apply and you don't get in, just go to a community college and then you get a second shot to apply as a transfer student. The beauty of the education system here in the US is that you have always a plan B. There's never a dead end. Never. In Egypt, I'll talk about Egypt because that's where I'm from, but I know that we may have attendees from other countries. In Egypt, you have to make that determination right out of high school or else you're in trouble. Like you gotta get it right. You gotta get that right percentage from the high school, the final grades, and get into that school that you want, or else the rest of your 4 years are messed up. But here, there is no dead end. You can get into whatever you want to study at any time, and sky's the limit. Don't limit yourself, okay? So, with that being said, I kind of touched base on the application and the benefit of doing the community college for 2 years. Also understand that community colleges offer programs that can help you get into certain careers, like at a lower level, like as the speaker that came before me, Anthony, he mentioned the EMT, program. We have an EMT program at Santa Ana College. It's only 3 courses. And you can start becoming an EMT and experience how it is to deal with people who are in trauma or have, any health needs. And that kind of give you that feel. Well, if you get a bad stomach from helping someone, then maybe health is not your thing. Maybe you should just consider something else. And you should learn that early on rather than investing years into it and then realizing, oh no, I'm not meant for this. Requirements to apply for the university in general. All the 4-year schools, you need to have graduated high school or an equivalent of that. So there are options out there where you take the exit exam, or if you do the GED, all those are equivalent to a high school diploma. There's also a GPA requirement for most 4-year schools. So because there's so many people trying to apply, they have to be selective. So they set a certain GPA requirement. They would ask for community service, involvement in non-academic activities like sports, like leadership, like student government, volunteering in relevant fields to whatever major that you're trying to get into. So please, if you are trying to get into, let's say, a business major, try to think of volunteer experiences that has to do with business, that has to do with marketing, that has to do with business applications, something that's relevant to what you want to do. Don't just say, oh, I'm volunteering at my church. Oh, I'm volunteering at, this center, I sell stuff over the weekend. Well, how is it affecting you in making the decision to be in business? Everything has to all tie